Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Mechanics, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that is a brainstorm.
Yourself after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one. Hello everybody and welcome to Brainstorm Broadcast. In any given state, power is divided into three branches: executive, legislative, and judiciary. What is the role of each power or branch of power, namely legislative? The today's show theme is lawmakers and constituents in the democratic states. We're going to discuss the role of lawmakers and what could the population or voters expect of those who elected to rule or to vote laws in the parliament or House of Representatives. Joining me now is Rodrigue Bonsole. Rodrigue, hello and welcome to this program.
Hi, Guy. Very happy to be here once again to the show. I'm very proud to have you as a teammate, because whenever we come together, we have to make people happy and give to them more details about topics we debate. I'm very happy to be again here.
Yes, I know that this is not the first time to come here on this stage to explain or break down different topics.
Sure.
So would you like to introduce one more time to your guests?
Rodrigue Bonsole is a former candidate for member of parliament. I won twice to become a member of parliament, and I am hoping to become again the member of parliament in 2028. This is a privilege for me to be here to participate in the show.
All right. I remind the guests that today's show the theme is lawmakers and constituents in a democratic state. So before we delve into this topic, could you lay out the concept of lawmakers and constituent?
Lawmakers and constituents are very based on the democratic countries, for example, in the United States, in France, or in other countries. There the government has given the power to the people. People, they have to choose who's going to be the leader. And this democracy has been spread to, all over the world. Every country has, trying to imitate what is a good role to have leaders. Reason why we go to elections to vote for lawmakers and constituents for leading the countries in form.
Yeah, on one hand we have lawmakers, and on the other we have constituents. So can you define the role of each of them, Mr. Lawmakers? What is the role and the constituent as well, or voters?
Of course, lawmakers are basically like what we call members of parliament, senators, and other leaders. And constituents are called as people, the people who have to choose the members of parliament. And all of them have to work as a teammate. When they work for a team, they will choose who's going to be a good lawmakers to lead the country for the future.
All right. So since we talk about lawmakers and constituents, we precisely say it's they work in the democratic states, right? So now we're better for us to define some principles of democracy. Please, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to watch the following video outlining the principles of democracy in given states. Please watch and we'll be back.
What does democracy really mean? In its simplest form, it means rule by the people. But there are also several guiding principles that act as the foundation of a democracy. Fundamental freedoms. All people living in a democracy have guaranteed rights, such as freedom of opinion and expression, freedom of religion, and the right to gather with others in public or private. In Canada, our fundamental freedoms are protected by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, part of Canada's Constitution. The Charter also guarantees equality rights. You may not be discriminated against because of race, religion, ethnicity, language, gender, or sexual orientation. Free and fair elections. Adult citizens have the opportunity to run for office and to vote in elections to choose their representatives. Elections are conducted regularly, in an honest manner, without influence or intimidation. In Canada, there must be elections to choose a federal government every 5 years or less. Accountability and transparency. Elected representatives are accountable for their actions. They must perform their duties according to the wishes of those they represent, not for themselves or other interests. In Canada, elected representatives participate in activities like question period, to be held to account for their actions, and respond to questions from the opposition parties. The press also holds our government to account and aims to keep citizens informed. The rule of law. Laws are enforced equally, fairly, and consistently, and no one is above the law. This means that everyone, including government officials, must obey the law. It also means that governments cannot punish people unless they have broken the law. All Canadians have a responsibility to respect the laws of the land, even if they disagree with them. And last, but certainly not least, citizen participation. Democracy demands citizen involvement. This includes participating in elections, being an informed citizen, debating issues, attending community meetings, paying taxes, serving on a jury, and protesting. All citizens in a democracy have a responsibility to uphold and support these principles, because without them, we are not a democracy.
Now, we want to know, since you yourself ran for the House of Representatives, I think in previous years, and what does it take to become a congressman or congresswoman?
It is not very easy. People, we as the Congolese people, we have to settle like a model for being a leader. We, first of all, have to meet people and show to them what we have as a plan we're going to make in the future if they choose us. For example, I am a Congolese citizen. I am creating, jobs. I'm creating, opportunities to people. And after that, people will be confident to me. They say that this guy is very generous, and he gives the opportunity to everybody to become as him. So in the future, I am going to choose him as member of parliament. Well, you see, the Congolese, they have to know in their mind that a leader or a future member of parliament has to be a servant. You don't have to choose anyone to become, a member of parliament. A member of parliament or future leader has to serve the people, to serve everybody, to serve the family. This is a very good leader in the future.
Yeah, but we know we expect things are clear. When it comes to lawmakers or House of Representatives, their role, their job is to make laws.
Of course, they have to make laws and choose laws.
We noticed that during the past campaign or past year campaign, most of those who were running for the House of Representatives promising people work, food, giving them even as a gift to be elected or to be voted. You think that is really fair as it comes to your ideology, your project, what we're going to do in the parliament? Is that your job? To create opportunities for others, or to make law in the parliament?
Very good question, Mr. Guy. You have to understand that both, they have to work together. A leader, as I said before here, a leader is a person who serves. And when you serve, if they choose you today to become a member of parliament, you have to choose good laws. The laws which allows people to go on, the law which allows your country to come up from the poverty and to allow your country to become, a very superpower country. This is a very good leader. I said to you before that, they have all of them to work together. If you choose me to become a leader today, and after some times, I'm going to serve you by giving you jobs, giving you money, giving you food, giving my country, what I deserve. The best thing for a leader or lawmakers is to serve the population of his country. This is what I want to say.
But our viewers asked me a question just behind the door. They wanted to know clearly the difference between a House of Representative and a senator. Is it do they play the same role, or do they have each their responsibility when it comes to maybe voting laws or
House, of course, House of Representative and Senate, it is totally different. You don't have to make a mistake in that. The Senate, they have to choose, to make big laws. And House of Representatives, they represent the population of the people. Whenever they make law, their laws has to be selected and chosen by the Senate. The Senate has to choose which law is fair. And if the House of Representatives doesn't make good law, and the Senate is not going to validate that law, the Senate is very, it has the authority above the House of Representatives.
Would you please give us an example of a law made or chosen by the House of Representatives and then also validated by the Senate? Can you give an example?
I want to make it contrary. I had in 2021, the House of Representatives has chosen a law, marriage for men and men to get married.
Gay marriage.
Yeah, gay marriage. But the Senate has canceled that. It has the power above the House of Representatives. But if the Senate didn't work well, it would allow that law to be approved. This is something that I want to explain to you.
So it's known that the country has what we call the body of laws called Constitution. So how do House of Representatives, even lawmakers, refer to the Constitution to make law?
The Constitution, first of all, it is a book that is chosen by the President. It is signed by the President of the Republic. For example, the President Tshisekedi has to approve, to sign for a Constitution to be in the public. But the Senate and all of this House of Representatives, they have to choose, to delegate people who have to go and to edit or to write that Constitution. It means all laws, all regulations, all articles, all topics which is written there, it has to be read, reread, and after that they can go to the Senate or to be voted if it is fine for them to choose that book, or they may not choose a book for a Constitution. The Senate has a very, very big role in a democratic country.
Yeah, so we want to know, because it seems that there is what we call interference in the different branches of power, namely in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We want to know exactly how the House of Representatives, the government, and judiciary cooperate or collaborate together.
All of them, the government, judiciary, and others, they have different roles to play. Above that, we have executive power. The executive power, it is handled by the President of the Republic. And judiciary and others, it is by the Constitutional Court and by the members of Parliament. For example, in America, in the United States, we had the elections of the President Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been chosen as the president. Before Donald Trump be proclaimed as the President of the United States, he has to be approved by the Senate. If the Senate approves him, then he can be chosen or proclaimed as the President. But if the Senate cancels that elections, they have to resume, make another election, call people to cast the bill out, to cast the vote for choosing another president. You see, it plays a very good role in a democratic country. It is very important for everybody to understand.
In the following video, you're going to discover how each branch of government work in a democratic state took place. Let's take a look and we'll be back.
Have you ever wondered who has the authority to make laws or punish people who break them? When we think of power in the United States, we usually think of the president, but he does not act alone. In fact, he is only one piece of the power puzzle, and for very good reason. When the American Revolution ended in 1783, the United States government was in a state of change. The Founding Fathers knew that they did not want to establish another country that was ruled by a king. So the discussions were centered on having a strong and fair national government that protected individual freedoms and did not abuse its power. When the new Constitution was adopted in 1787, the structure of the infant government of the United States called for 3 separate branches, each with their own powers, and a system of checks and balances. This would ensure that no one branch would ever become too powerful, because the other branches would always be able to check the power of the other two. These branches work together to run the country and set guidelines for us all to live by. The legislative branch is described in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Many people feel that the Founding Fathers put this branch in the document first because they thought it was the most important. The legislative branch is comprised of 100 U.S. senators and 435 members in the U.S. House of Representatives. This is better known as the U.S. Congress. Making laws is a primary function of the legislative branch, but it is also responsible for approving federal judges and justices, passing the national budget, and declaring war. Each state gets 2 senators and some number of representatives depending on how many people live in that state. The executive branch is described in Article 2 of the Constitution. The leaders of this branch of government are the President and Vice President, who are responsible for enforcing the laws that Congress sets forth. The President works closely with a group of advisors known as the Cabinet. These appointed helpers assist the President in making important decisions within their area of expertise, such as defense, the Treasury, and Homeland Security. The executive branch also appoints government officials, commands the armed forces, and meets with leaders of other nations. All that combined is a lot of work for a lot of people. In fact, the executive branch employs over 4 million people to get everything done. The third branch of the U.S. government is the judicial branch and is detailed in Article 3. This branch is comprised of all the courts in the land, from the federal district courts to the U.S. Supreme Court. These courts interpret our nation's laws and punish those who break them. The highest court, the Supreme Court, settles disputes among states, hears appeals from state and federal courts, and determines if federal laws are constitutional. There are 9 justices on the Supreme Court, and unlike any other job in our government, Supreme Court justices are appointed for life, or for as long as they want to stay. Our democracy depends on an informed citizenry, so it is our duty to know how it works and what authority each branch of government has over its citizens. Besides voting, chances are that sometime in your life you will be called upon to participate in your government, whether it is to serve on a jury, testify in court, or petition your congressperson to pass or defeat an idea for a law. By knowing the branches, who runs them, and how they work together, you can be involved, informed, and intelligent.
All right. Now, do all these 3 branches work independently? If so, how?
It works independently. You remember, I know you, Mr. Guy, you've been trained by Americans. In 2005, it's now almost 20 years. You know, you were attending some clubs, some English schools. I know, you know, Jane and the Kecha and all of these teachers, they were teaching you English, but you were independent. You were not allowed to go there. If you go there, it means that you have the need to speak English well. It is the same thing as the Congolese people. Before choosing what you call a member of parliament, nobody is going to push you to choose this member of parliament. But you go there by yourself, by your own will. You just choose the person that you need, and that person is going to be accepted by the Constitutional Court, then approved and appear to choose good laws to make for the country. This is very important for each one to understand in the country which is democratic.
Yeah, so regarding this topic, there is another concern on the part of the viewers. They wanted to know exactly who's supposed to initiate the bill in the House and how is it passed?
Who's ready to initiate the bill? You know that a country is led by the President of the Republic. He has substitute his power to what we call some other department. We have Senate, we have election departments, we have Senate, we have this kind of different department to validate or to give the mandate. They have a huge role to play in the democratic country. You have known countries like Morocco. They don't have to choose the king. The king is born a king and is going to die king. You have countries like Saudi Arabia and like United Kingdom, UK. Those countries, they have their own law, which is different from democratic countries. For example, here in Congo, we have a law, a constitution which allows people to choose the members of parliament, to choose the president of the republic, and after his mandate, he goes out and another man replaces him. Same thing with the countries like Morocco, UK, Saudi Arabia, and so on. These countries, their elections is going to stop by the prime minister. They don't have to choose the king because the king handles his own power. The king, he only rules the country in general, but he doesn't take decision for the country. It is quite the same for here. As you pointed out here in this topic, you have to understand that constituent, as people, they have a role to play in the democratic countries to choose good leaders.
And so now let's just say in a democratic state, we have on one hand voters or constituents. What is their expectation of those who are chosen as member of parliament? And also, how do members of parliament earn the trust of voters?
I'm hurt. We have 4 times elections in the Congo. In 1999, 2006, we had elections. In 2011, we have elections. In 2018, elections. 2023, elections. The people have been deceived. How? They have chosen leaders that didn't meet their needs. What we call in French, they didn't meet their desiderata. Mm-hmm. They just choose the people who have money because a person has bought for him a T-shirt or given him food to eat, and then they choose him. This is the kind of rejecting your ability, rejecting your future to allow to stealers to become in power. People are deceived. Everybody has been deceived. They've been deceived because they've never and ever chosen right leaders. I believe good leaders have come.
So in the last poll, you ran for the House of Representatives. So how did things turned out? Because you were a candidate. How things turned out?
We were
Briefly speaking.
Yeah, I want to make it brief. We were deceived. We met to people. We talked to people about our plans that we're going to do if we arrive in the power. To become a member of parliament. And things didn't work well because they choose us. People have chosen us, but the leaders of CENI didn't proclaim the good leaders. That's why you see people are very, very, very deceived.
Okay, so in the following video, there will be an idea, the light will be shed on the role of branch, the House of Representatives and Senate. Please take a look at it and we're back.
As the legislative branch of the United States government, Congress is responsible for proposing and passing the nation's laws. But in recent years, fewer and fewer laws have been making their way to the president's desk to be signed. This deadlock is due not only to increased political polarization, but to the unique structure of 2 congressional chambers that operate in parallel yet distinct ways. The concept of a bicameral legislature originates with the British Parliament, where the House of Commons was intended to represent the people, while the House of Lords has evolved to be seen as a body of experts to review proposed laws. America's founders adopted the model with a different idea. Since the nation began as a confederation of sovereign states, there was a conflict between representing each state equally and reflecting the greater contributions of the more populated states. Bicameralism enabled a compromise where each state is represented proportionally according to population in the House of Representatives, but equally in the Senate. Each state's total congressional representation also determines the number of votes they are given in presidential elections, giving voters in smaller states more impact. Today, the Senate has 100 members, 2 for each state, while the House has 435, each representing a district of about 760,000 people. Each of the 2 chambers introduces and votes on legislation, but only the House may introduce revenue bills. House bills are introduced when they are referred to committee by the House Speaker, while Senate bills may be introduced by any senator on the floor. The 2 chambers also have different roles when it comes to impeachment. the House initiates the process and votes on whether to bring charges. The Senate conducts the trial by voting to convict or acquit. Another important difference is the filibuster, a maneuver allowing any senator to block a vote by drawing out debate indefinitely unless overruled by 3/5 of the Senate. Initially used only as an emergency measure, increasing polarization in recent years has turned the filibuster into a perpetual threat by the minority party to block any legislation favored by the majority. In practice, this means that every Senate bill needs a supermajority of 60 votes to pass. The House, which has no filibuster option, only requires a simple majority. Ultimately, any bill must pass both the House and the Senate to be signed into law, which is especially difficult if the two chambers are controlled by opposing parties. The partisan gridlock of recent decades has periodically led to calls for reforming the Senate by removing the filibuster or even abolishing the chamber altogether in favor of a unicameral legislature. But as their structure is enshrined in the Constitution, both chambers of Congress will likely persist into the foreseeable future.
All right, now we're running out of time almost, but now I want you to tell us the expectation of political party, because you, as a candidate, you come from any given political party. What should the political party expect of an elected member of parliament?
Not only my political party, every political parties expect to have good members of parliament. They have, first of all, to select who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the candidate. I have known, at Mobutu time, before becoming a candidate, you have to be known. You have to get an influence. You have to have the vote power from the people to be chosen as a member of parliament. In the Congo, for example, after the departure of Mobutu, we have known the President Kabila. He didn't make elections, and after him, the son, Kabila's son, came with ideas of creating elections, and we have seen candidates from every place. But every political parties, for example, mine is LGD with Matala Ponyo, they select. You don't have to be a candidate just like this. I want to become a candidate. No, they choose who's going to be a candidate for them to be running for a member of parliament. So every political parties, they choose good candidate.
So what is your message to your former constituents, even though things have passed or turned out that way, but now on this stage you are telling things of folks to understand and clearly grasp your message, but specifically to your former constituents, your message?
To my former voters or constituents, they have to be very happy because I'm running again for the member of parliament. In 3 years, I will be running again. You have to give to me the chance to become a member of parliament. Not only myself, we have many friends, we have many people who have very good knowledge. They are very intelligent and they want to change things. If you give to us the ability to become a member of parliament, we will reach it. Because Barack Obama said, yes, we can. United together we stand.
Thank you so much, Rodrigue Bonsole, for your insights. And also appreciate it so much, your thoughtful ideas when you take your floor to say something is really sobering.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Guy.
We are at the end of our program. We discussed lawmakers and constituents in the democratic states. We tried to explain, delve into different aspects of this relevant topic. You were many to watch us on a second national channel, RTNC de Développement. So we're happy to have you many. And we hope that in the days ahead, we'll be dealing with different other topics. So thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
And allow people to speak English as well.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Techniques, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that it's a brainstorm.
Yourself, after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one.